From the EQC studio, welcome to The Top Step with Ryne Rowland-Smith.
How we going, mates? It's Ryne Rowland-Smith. Welcome back to The Top Step. I'm inside the EQC studio. Special thanks to Emerald Queen Casino. Special thanks for Root Sports. All right, let's get your weekend set up right. We've got a massive show. We've got some big guests. One of them being Mariners reliever. We picked him up in spring training, Ryne Stanek. He has been electric for this bullpen. I cannot wait to talk to him. That's coming right up. We've also got Michael Fisher from Codify joining me at the top trends in just a minute. Hey, and also, too, I want to introduce this. We have got our new Australian segment, our little contest, How to Speak Australian. That's going to be at the end of the show. You can win some really cool giveaways. That's brought to you by Kangaroo and Kiwi, the only Aussie pub in Seattle. All right, so we've got a big show for you this week, but I do want to kick it off with my friends at ilovebaseball.org. So I want to tell you about the I Love Baseball program. Baseball is a huge priority for young ball players in the Dominican Republic, and they all aspire to make it to the major leagues. As we all know, not all of them do it, only 1% in fact. So I Love Baseball ensures that these young men still receive a good education, mentorship, and life coaching. They do amazing things, all the things that are so important outside of baseball. So go to ilovebaseball.org and find out how you can sponsor a player and learn all about it. They do amazing things. Special thanks to them for joining the show. Okay, so let's get to what is trending up for the Seattle Mariners this week in this edition of the Top Trends. Okay, so trending up is the Seattle Mariners in the AL West, hovering around first place with the Texas Rangers. Man, it has been a massive turnaround. Now, we talked about this a little bit last week, but the starting pitching, like, let's get real. This has been the foundation. And to help me out, dive a little deeper with what's been happening with the starting pitching is the man who posted this at Codify Baseball. Is Seattle's rotation the best in baseball right now? 76.2% of people in this poll said yes, they are. And this is from a national audience. This is not the Northwest. Michael Fisher from at Codify Baseball. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. And I'm sorry that 24% of the people got that question wrong.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked, man. I thought it'd be more in the 85%. And again, just to make sure people know this is not a Northwest. Usually there's a little bit of bias, obviously, here in the Northwest, but you have a huge following on social with everything you do. And if you're not following at Codify Baseball, you are missing out. And one thing you do so well is you work with pitchers, and I want to dive into that just a little bit in a second. But let's focus here on the Seattle Mariners rotation. What do you see from start to finish, from Luis Castillo, even down to Emerson Hancock, that they're doing so well?
Yeah, there's definitely an overall theme, and these guys are in the zone. They're not wasting pitches. They're not walking guys. MLB overall ratio of strikeouts to walks is under 3. It's 2.8. There's 2.8 strikeouts for every walk you see when you watch baseball. The Mariners pitching staff, the starters, are at 4.8, almost 5 strikeouts per walk. It's insane. And that's a lot of it. So then when they give up their hits, like, there's fewer guys on base.
You know, it's funny, man. I mean, look, with 16-game span, and this goes back to their last game in Toronto, to the last game in Arizona before the Braves came to town. But they had a 1.55 and 23 walks, 116 strikeouts. Opponents hitting 166. Now, you mentioned the strike throwing ability, and you know, this is something you work with some of the best pitchers in the game. It's all about stuff, right? Everyone, and we've seen this with some of the arm injuries going around baseball, everyone gets so caught up in the 98 and the movement, the way guys can spin the baseball. But when you look at the Seattle Mariners and what you just mentioned, that strike throwing ability, I mean, it's kind of rare, right? When you look from start to finish, and you got 4 guys who are homegrown, by the way, who came up through the Mariners system. But it's kind of rare to have that strike throwing ability. It's something that, like, you talked about with Greg Maddux back in the mid-90s.
Yeah, we were just looking at all of their pitches recently, and it's interesting. Stuff is the sexy thing. How much did your pitch break? It's like, but fine, Ryan. You have an 18-inch breaking sweeper, but can you throw it where you want to throw it?
Right.
Luis Castillo has that tight slider with not a lot of break, but imagine how hard it is to hit that when you're worried about these fastballs that are, breaking a foot or a foot and a half the other way. So he can throw, and these guys in general, they know when they need to, much more so than most pitchers. They can throw these pitches where they want, and not just into the zone, but into a part of the zone.
Another tweet that you put up too, only 4 pitchers in MLB history have started more than 25 games during their career and had a strikeout to walk ratio of at least 5-1. And George Kirby, 7.62 to 1. It's crazy. Jacob deGrom right after him, and he's at around the 5. So talk to me, man. Who do you see that's even close to having, who's pitching right now, and just talking about George Kirby, in regards to having the combination of stuff plus command?
Oh, come on. I mean, 62 career games started. The guy's walked 45 total batters. So
Crazy.
No one has this combination. You know, we were looking at the best pitches in baseball for starters of stuff. You know, how much is it breaking? How fast is it going? And not looking so much at command. And Kirby's not on the radar. He can throw 98 or 99 when he needs to, but it's not. That's not why he's succeeding. He can dot it, and he does it over and over. There was one tweet I put up, which you might be able to put up, that showed here's all the pitches that George Kirby has thrown in his career with a 3-ball count, and they're all near the zone. No one does that. That's insane.
When you look at this rotation, 1 through 5, we've talked about the strike throwing ability. Who and you know, 76% of people said yes, they are the best rotation, and that again, national level. Who else in your mind, from in your opinion, is up there when it comes to 1 through 5 that has the ability to have the, you know, they got stuff that plays at the big major league level, but also to the command and the productivity that we're seeing 1 through 5 with the Mariners?
Nobody. I'm doing a podcast with Pitching Ninja called Baseball Dojo, and on the very first episode, I think we had the task of independently saying who's going into this season, who has the best pitching staff, and independently, we both chose the Mariners for that reason of not just ability to work in the zone stuff, depth. I mean, Brian Wu is a good pitcher, and he goes down, and It's like, you're kidding me. You just slip in Emerson Hancock and keep going. I mean, they have the depth there too. They're number one. They're my number. They've been my number one the whole year. I've got some hate notes in the beginning when they struggled. Sorry, don't watch baseball that way. There's a lot of luck in baseball, and it can turn. And it's a big reason Codify Baseball exists. Liam Hendriks. I just threw a pitch. It was at the top of the zone. It was 99 miles an hour. It had good ride, and the guy hit it out of the park. Should I keep doing that? Yes, you should. Yes, right. It's called bad luck. It just happens. Where can you succeed more often? George Kirby had a kind of a rough outing there. Second one wasn't great. So, you know, you're looking at a ZRA of 4. It's like, how good? Why are people bragging about George Kirby? Because he's a really good pitcher. Don't look at ERA.
Well, hey, listen, this has been awesome. I appreciate you diving into what the Mariners have been doing, trending up in the AL West, that is for sure. But, hey, Michael Fisher, if you're not following at Codify Baseball, like I said, you are missing out. And let's not forget, too, there's plenty of people out there who can run some numbers, but you don't have someone who's actually working with pitchers, which is even more important. So, Michael, I really appreciate it, man. I hope we can do this again.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. I appreciate it.
All right, special thanks to Michael Fisher at Codify Baseball. Go follow him on social media. He's a really good follow. Now, coming up after the break, he was my favorite acquisition the Mariners made all week long, and that is Ryne Stanek. He's a beast out of the bullpen. He's joining me here in the EQC studios, so don't go anywhere. Keep it right here on the Top Step.
I live in Tacoma, and I'm all about the action. From making a run at the tables to multiple pay lines on my favorite machines. Game time. The sportsbook is better than being on the 50-yard line or sitting courtside. And I'm here for it. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
All right, welcome back inside the EQC studio. Joining me on the Top Step, and I'm really happy to see this guy in the Mariners bullpen. A special welcome to Seattle. I have got Ryne Stanek. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Listen, before we jumped on, I do have to bring this up. You did some shopping today down in Texas, I hear.
Yeah.
With,
Me and Julio went over to Highland and did some shopping. Figured get out of the hotel room and do something.
Yeah, for sure. Is that like you go to? What's usually like an off day for you? Like, what does that usually look like? You're shopping. What are you usually doing?
It just kind of whatever. It's all very obviously city dependent. Like there are some cities there's not really anything to do, but for the most part it's like try to find someplace good to go dinner. At some point probably play some video games, kill some time. I know some guys played some golf today. Like just kind of depends on what it is, especially early in the season when it's cold. In a lot of places you can't really do much, but finally getting to some warm weather, people can get outside and like at least explore a little bit.
Speaking of the Mariners, obviously new team, but what was your perspective of them being an Astro? Obviously, you played against the Mariners a ton the last couple of years. What was, when you're as a Houston Astro looking at the team, like what was kind of like your perception, like what they did well, or kind of that view outside of, obviously now you're with the team, this is the team I cover, but like how would you view the last couple of years? Was it a team that, like, I always wonder this, man, because the Astros were just such a juggernaut. They still are, like, obviously, but they've had such a run. And here come the Mariners a couple of years ago. Obviously the playoffs ended here in Seattle. And then last year, you're watching kind of them slowly start to build and have something. But from your point of view, going back like a year or even last season, what was your kind of like view of the Seattle Mariners as a baseball team in regards to what they do well, what stands out, and everything else?
I thought they were a good team. Like played good defense, pitched well, hit. They were like always for us, always felt like a team that like was always kind of a pain in the ass for lack of a better word. It's like,
yeah.
You were always going to be in like a knockdown drag out because like the games were always going to be tight. Like it was always going to be like there, and you know how it goes. Like those games, like they just feel like they're like every day you're in it instead of like having a day where it feels comfortable or anything. You're just like, God, every day is going to be a fight, which, I mean, it's a good thing. It's like those are the fun games. Obviously, tensions kind of get high whenever those games get played a lot. But that's pretty commonplace, especially in division whenever you play each other so much.
With you in your career, right, there was a point there where you were sent down to AAA, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I can't remember the year. You were sent down to AAA, and that's where you learned how to throw your split. Is that right? What year was that?
17. That was my rookie year. Yeah.
Okay, so talk me through that, man. So you're in the big leagues, rookie season. What secondary pitches did you throw before you had that split?
I threw a curveball and a slider, and then I had because I had a starter mix because I was a starter until that point, basically, or until I got to AAA, basically, which was like the end of the year before. So yeah, no, I had like a starter mix, four seam change, like circle change, curveball, slider, and then when I got to the big leagues, like. It was still at the time when the baseballs were different. So there was a very big difference in the baseballs between AAA and the big leagues. So you just got to that point where it's like I couldn't spin the ball as good like in the big leagues because it was just a much different baseball. Obviously in 2019 the baseballs were pretty hot too. But like for years like the baseballs like had gotten like what seemed to be hotter and hotter, and they spun. Like the minor league balls, you could spin them because the seams were a little bit bigger, and then the big leagues, like everything's a lot slicker. Like it's just like a whole combination of things, and so I didn't throw a lot of breaking balls like right off the bat because I was like, it sucks. So like I can't throw that until I learned how to actually throw a big league baseball. So like the book kind of got out real fast. Like I came up and threw really well for the first month or so. And then the last couple weeks of that stretch that I was up for the first time, it wasn't very good because I was just like hucking heaters and just like had nothing else at the time. So I got sent down, and Steve Geltz was down there, and he taught me how to throw a split. And me and him just kind of like threw it at each other, and then started throwing it off the mound, and then kind of busted it out in the game. And kind of history now.
Was that something that the organization said, hey, look, when you go down there, we're going to really dial in on this pitch, or did you go down and say, you know what, I need to change something?
Well, it was I needed to change something. They definitely didn't tell me, hey, you need to learn how to throw a split. It was just kind of like something that I talked to him about. I started playing around with in catch play, showed the pitching coach, kind of got to the point where it's like, I kind of think it's good enough that I can maybe throw it. Yeah. And then once that happened, it was pretty damn good. So I just kept throwing it.
This is still like kind of pre where you check the iPad every pitch right in the bullpen. Like this is what we're talking 2017. Yeah. So this is more of a feel thing, right? This wasn't something like the Mariners do such a good job. I get it. When guys come in, like I'm talking Paul Sewald, like, a bunch of guys, like, Topa last year, where they kind of identify and they do use some of these pitch metrics to say, hey, this pitch, this location, let's dial in on these two. But this is something, and this is what, Scott Service even talked about from a hitting standpoint, guys just looking at iPads way too much. And I see these kids, man, I coach kids, every time they throw, like I'll go down the drive line, they throw a pitch and then they're just staring for 45 seconds at an iPad or whatever it is to figure out the pitch. It drives me insane. But this is something before that, right? This is just straight teammates like, hey, check this pitch out. You should throw it. And then you're just going off straight feel or what the reaction from the hitter is, right?
Yeah, it's like it was very much like it was at the very beginning of like the pitch design stuff. It was probably pre even phrasing of pitch design. You're like it was still before the seam shift stuff started to come out. It was before the big sweeper. It was just kind of like a situation where I had to rely on what the hitter was telling me. If like the old adage is the hitter will tell you if it sucks or not. So like if you go out there and you get whacked, it's probably not great.
Yeah, right.
So for whatever reason or another, it could be a bad shape, it could be bad deception, it could be a tip, it could be a whole bunch of things. But it's like if it's not good, the hitters will let you know pretty quickly if it's not.
I live in Tacoma, and I'm all about the action. From making a run at the tables to multiple pay lines on my favorite machines. Game time. The sportsbook is better than being on the 50-yard line or sitting courtside. I'm here for it. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
You, like now, last couple of years, do you dive pretty heavily into analytics and try and really understand it, or are you one of those guys that you throw a bullpen and you want to see 5 or 6 different numbers or how the pitch is shaping out or any of that, or sit down with pitching coach, or are you still kind of towards the same thing you were doing in 2017?
It's both. It's like a lot of times I want to know that my heater shape is like, I want to know that the shape is within normal range, and then everything else off of that is feel. Because like if it's showing up on the computer as what my stuff's supposed to do normally, like within a reasonable range of variable or variation, you can sit there and go, okay, well, it doesn't matter as long as that stuff's normal. Yeah. It's about executing. It's about, hey, I gotta get out to the glove side. I gotta get the ball down. I gotta get the ball up. I gotta be able to bounce my breaking balls. I've got to be able to backdoor it. I have to be able to do those things to execute, because if you're only worried about just creating pure stuff, you don't really pitch. And like, it's like some of it is you have to trust your stuff and not be too fine and not try to be perfect every time. It's just stay within and just like go.
Yeah, for sure. I just, it's one of these things because it's under such a microscope now. I mean, you throw really hard, man. And I didn't know if, did you throw gas when you were a kid, as a teenager?
I always threw fairly hard, but like never like super hard until I got older. Until I was my senior year of high school. I was like going into my senior year, I was probably like 91, 93, and then like which at the time, like back in 2010 was pretty hard, and now
for a high school kid,
now 93 is like the minimum in high school for whatever reason. It's wild how crazy stuff has gotten. But yeah, coming into my senior year, like the very first game I threw my senior year, I was like 95, 97, and
wow.
And people were like, because I was a guy that like I thought I was gonna get drafted, but like not super high. Yeah. But then like as soon as that happened, teams were like, oh, you're gonna go a lot higher than you thought. So I had to like prepare for that and the whole draft thing out of high school, which funny enough, Seattle drafted me, and I ended up going to college, obviously.
You're like, no thanks.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because like I had like at the time like I had a very clear belief in what I wanted and what I wanted to like skip college, and didn't get there. So I went to college, and then I just did it again in 3 years.
Hey, listen, Ryan, this has been awesome, man, and hopefully we'll get a chance. Maybe you can take me shopping, you and Julio. I can bring a camera around and film you guys doing that, or doing something down at the ballpark. But listen, it's been a lot of fun. Big welcome to Seattle. We are so happy to have you. I know a lot of the fans are, and thank you so much for joining me on the Top Step.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a good chat.
All right, special thanks to Ryne Stanek. Like I said, I love this acquisition from the Mariners. It's going to pay dividends. You watch in the month of September. All right, let's get on to the big announcement. We have got a weekly contest for you. It is the How to Speak Australian segment here on the Top Step, and it is proudly brought to you by the Kangaroo and Kiwi. Now, the Kangaroo and Kiwi is the only Aussie pub in Seattle. That's right, and that's where I go if I want to get a beer with all my Aussie mates. So you can catch me there. They've got plenty of good Aussie food, good Australian beers, a whole bunch of good stuff. And by the way, we are going to have a Mariners watch party and a little Aussie trivia night later on the season. Details will be coming very soon. You can join us there. But you can join us right now by answering this correctly. How to speak Australian. I'm going to teach you how to speak Australian. And the word this week is drongo, spelled D-R-O-N-G-O. Now, I'll give you a sentence just to help you out. That bloke is an absolute drongo. There you go. You kind of get the idea. So that's the sentence for you. Drongo. You tell me what it means. This is how it works. If you know the answer, go over to Instagram or X and use the hashtag TTSmate when you answer it correctly. You can answer it in a post or in a comment section. We are going to put this online as well. And you'll be in the running now. Now, the winner is chosen at random, but you have a chance to win the weekly giveaway, and there's going to be some major prizes. You get to have a little fun. You get to learn how to speak Australian. So that's how it works. The word this week is drongo. Go tell me what that means. I don't care. You can go Google search it if you want. Now you know how to speak Australian. All right, you bunch of drongos.